Chair.
Did Beth ever come in?
She reported that she may be a little late, but she didn't plan to join us.
Okay, we're ready to call to order.
The floor is yours.
You want to call roll call?
Yes. Glenn Spieth,
Yes.
Joan Cooley,
Here.
Christina Minetti,
Here.
and Bethany Campbell may be late. You do have quorum, Chair.
All right. Is there any changes to the agenda?
None from staff.
No.
Okay. Approval of minutes. Anybody wants to make a motion to approve the minutes as written?
This is Joan. I move that we accept the minutes as written.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second, I just took too long to get to my mute button. Second.
All right. Minutes have been approved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 This is Beth. I
Those
say
that-
aye.
Okay. Anybody that objects? I hear none. Any announcements?
None from staff.
Okay. Any public comments?
Not see any members of the public.
Okay, and there is no public hearings tonight. Correct?
That's correct, Chair.
Okay. Reports by Historic Preservation Officer or staff.
I am excited to announce that we have a new council member liaison, Mr. Paul Boki. Mr. Boki is joining us this evening. This will be his first meeting as our council liaison, and he was appointed for the duration of the 2022 term. Additionally,
Okay, great.
Additionally, I just wanted to mention, obviously, this meeting is being held virtually. It was decided that all January meetings will be held virtually. I do not have an update on February meetings. As soon as I do, I will be sure to share that information with the board.
All right. Okay, next item is unfinished business, the 2022 work plan. Courtney, did you want me to read all of that?
I can go ahead and give a quick summary, Chair. So as you all know, each year the board provides a work plan to the City Council. Those work plans were reviewed at the first City Council meeting of the new year and approved on January 18th. Sorry. During the council meeting, it was requested that Lhab be involved in a policy rewrite pertaining to renaming facilities at City Hall. That is one addition to the work plan from the last time that we reviewed it back in October. Also, going for the budget, we are anticipated to have the $8,000, which is the $4,000 that was unspent from 2021, as well as an additional $4,000 that was allocated for 2022. So during this meeting, Chair, if you would like, Lhab can create a timeline for some project completion that we've outlined in the work plan. I can share that work plan on my screen, and also prioritize that $8,000 in funding.
Courtney,
Yes, Joan.
can you tell me what page, because I'm having to see since
6.
what page is it on? 8?
6 of 10. 6 and 7.
Oh, dear.
Can I go back and ask a question? This is
Absolutely.
Glenn.
Sure.
On page 5, Lhab will be involved in policy rewrite pertaining to renaming facilities at the city hall. That's something we have to discuss at a future meeting, is that correct?
Yes, it has been recommended that we have a joint meeting with the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. I'm still in the process of scheduling that. I do expect that it will be within the first quarter of 2022. So February, March, April timeframe.
All right, so then that's going to be a joint meeting, probably on Zoom.
Yes, or we may receive a presentation from a member of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board team.
All right. And continuing on. Is that it for the work plan? Or are you going to be going through the work plan?
We can go through the work plan if everyone wants to go to page 6 and 7. We summarize our 2021 accomplishments and then for the 2022 work plan. Karen, if you have it pulled up, I might ask you to sub in for me reading off a little bit, but I'll start, and if I need your assistance, if you wouldn't mind. For ongoing projects, we have in this year indicated here that we do not have a specific timeline for the completion of any of these items right now, which is something that we can certainly discuss this. The first item that we've is for opportunities to expand the Historic Streets Recognition Program. The second item is to continue to work with the Clover Park School District to incorporate local history into the curriculum. Item 3, research grant opportunities to fund additional historic markers throughout the city. Item 4, update the Lakewood touring map to include historic streets identified through the recognition program. And next item is working with Pretty Gritty Tours to develop a walking tour program. Next is to explore the use of the community landmark designation. And this was slightly shifted language here. We're focusing more on community landmark rather than Lakewood landmark. Next, on recruitment. Next, actively engage with City of Lakewood Youth Council. We have not yet received our appointee, I don't believe, for this year. Next is to create the short history of Lakewood videos to post online and engage with youth. Consider a partnership with Clover Park or create the videos or offer them as a resource. And then last is that new add-on item, which is to assist PRAB, Parks and Rec Advisory Board, on their review of the policies pertaining to renaming city facilities. And that will require a joint meeting or a presentation from a member of the PRAB board.
Okay, any other comments on this?
So it's my understanding that we need to set timelines for each of the items on the work plan. Is that correct?
And we focus on a couple that we would like to tackle first, and then look at what the requirements would be for those items.
Okay. What is our low-hanging fruit? In other words, what could we accomplish quickly? some of these items are, long range and in progress things. So,
I think updating the touring map is probably our lowest hanging fruit.
I agree.
'Cause we've kind of already got that in the works.
That's
Um,
correct.
Yeah.
I had an idea about the touring map at some strange time within the last 24 hours, and two things. One is that I cannot remember if we included in our touring map all of the parks that are located in Lakewood. If not, it seems to me that that would be an ideal merge, since many of our landmarks are easy to drive. Some are impossible to drive by, but where there are markers and it's easy to see the surrounding area, that's pretty easy to do from a car, so to speak. Also, our parks are such a vital part, I think, of Lakewood that it would this. And I'm not trying to make more work for the touring map, but it seems to me it would be a natural to have our parks included in a touring map of Lakewood.
Right now,
Does the park department already have maps set aside? I know it's on the city map, all the different parks. Is there a separate map that the Parks Department has?
Not that I know of.
Well, I think we could definitely put like a little ditty on the touring map about Fort Steilacoom Park, because it's got a couple of historic sites and it has access, which a lot of the historic sites around Lakewood, there's no access. But if you park at Fort Steilacoom Park, you can go see, the fort across the street, and you can go do the labyrinth on the old hill ward, and you can see the barns and everything. So there's a lot of Lakewood history right there in that park that's really accessible.
Yeah. I know that, and that's already on our map. I'm sure it's outlined in green.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking,
we can highlight some things, but then I think it's a good idea to kind of look and see, like what parks we have that would then make other sites more accessible.
well, I think of people picking up the touring map, and if they're interested in history, they're going to do that. But also, I think of summertime, and people might want to pick up a burger someplace and go to a nearby park. And if they have a map that shows not only the historical markers on our map and also the parks, it just links them a little closer to what we have in Lakewood. And I think one of our sterling parts of our community are our parks. And so that's why I'm bringing it up, and it would be a good way to get people to drive into Tillicum even and go to the park there, because I know it's been recently refurbished. So, and I don't know how old I should write Mary and ask, how old are our parks? When were each established as a park in our community?
Yeah, I think a lot of them are.
Once it became a city.
Right.
However, they have history that's way before that, and I don't know that she even has any information on that.
But wouldn't that be an easy thing for us to work on too? Okay, I'm just tossing it out as an idea.
Yeah.
And
Right now, one of the things that I am a little miffed over is Parks Department has a separate committee, Partners for Parks. Why not we have a separate committee that's Partners for Lakewood History? Partners for Parks collects money to support parks activities and get support from the city that way. Yet, it has always been difficult for us to get any kind of support and have any kind of additional partners that help us. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I think they were trying to include us in that one with their campaign for the barn refurbishment. So, they're going to need all the partners they can get, and that's a pretty important historic thing too.
But what I see is they've already had a design house go through and redesign the H barn, and we never had any input to that. I doubt whether it's original windows, doors. It's being refurbished to become another city meeting place and park meeting place rather than anything to do with historic preservation other than to put $7.5 million into it.
Yeah, well, it's going to have to earn its keep, but maybe if there's funding coming in from that, and if they can make it any kind of a money-making venture, then we can be able to fund some more kind of preservation-like activities with the other barns.
Joanne, Joan here. I have recently discovered the Magnolia Channel on TV, and they have some of the most wonderful historic preservation programs on that I've happened to come by. And one has to do with barns and moving, even moving of barns from the 1700s and the 1800s to new locations, or just refurbishing them and repurposing them. And I've, now that you mentioned the barns at Fort Steilacoom, it makes me think that we definitely should have input in what is happening to those barns, and they should be preserved, with some serious work to maintain the original look of them as best we can, in order to keep the whole park and the barns on the historic register. Wouldn't they have to? I know they don't have to be done legally, but I agree with you 100% that they should be refurbished in whatever way we could urge them to do so, in their original intent and structure.
I'm
Yeah,
glad.
this is Paul here, and I absolutely agree, because they are historical structures, so we can't. I don't think the intent is to alter them or radically alter them, right? I mean, the idea is to try to keep them looking the way they look. At least that's the way I understand council's intention going into this. I mean, we don't have designs or anything like that, but I would think that the historical significance of the barns is central to the renovation of the barns.
Thank you, Paul. That's good to hear.
I agree with that. However, what I'm looking at is I don't think that they're taking into account any of the rules regarding historic preservation, the state requirements, etc., because they're talking about going for a state grant and all this and that. And I know that is not easy, at least with their current plans.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Just offer a reminder that I don't believe that the H barn has been designated as a local Lakewood landmark, and we would be the agency that would regulate that based on local regulations, versus the national registers, which are just honorary.
Yes.
That's true, but they couldn't go for a historic preservation grant through the state or probably through the national government. Right now, all they're doing is calling it historic, and they can do anything they want with it. That I'm concerned with.
Right. I'm very glad that you all brought this up, because when I was listening to the discussions during the city council study session, I guess it was, about the H barn, I was thinking about all these things, like, you know, who is overseeing the actual historic preservation aspect of it. So I kind of assumed that there was some element, but of course I didn't know just based on what they were saying. So yeah, these are all really good things to keep in mind. And also, my parents happen to have a historic barn, and I found out the hard way that if you miss the deadline, you have to wait like 2 years or something. So I hope that whatever they're doing about their grant, they'll keep in mind that they could have a 2-year delay.
Yeah.
That's true. One of the first priorities is historical designation, because that's what the state wants to see. They don't want to just take any old building, call it historic, and provide a big grant for it. We're the board that's supposed to be taking care of historic preservation, and I don't see that actually happening.
So I guess when we were talking about the low-hanging fruit before, this isn't really low-hanging. It doesn't sound like it perhaps is so easy, but maybe this is one of the more important things that are on this list, because of course that is all underway already. They have their proposal already. They have, like, they're talking about the money and everything. So we better, if we're going to, as a board, intervene or like act on this now, because they're going to be moving forward without any of us participating. So I would say out of all those things on the list, probably that's the most important. It's a lot of money. The barn is very prominent. It's a big project, and we should definitely be in on it. I agree with you all.
I agree.
True, it was originally a horse barn, and that's not what they're making it into. It's going to be a meeting facility, all upgraded with all the modern equipment. I'm sure that they're going for thermal windows, or windows, what do you call it?
Triple pane.
To save heat, yeah. And same way with doors, and then they're going to make a lot of other improvements. And I think I've seen a lot of that on some drawings not too terribly long ago, but we haven't been included in any of that, so we can't really say much about what they're planning to do. They're already getting ready to ask everybody they can for money to complete the situation.
Well, we've got two problems. We're not the owners of the building, so they're going to have to
But
decide. Yeah,
the
So
city-
somebody needs to put it forward to get designated if that's what they want to happen, and if they think that that would be helpful to them in their fundraising efforts. But the other thing is that it can't be a horse barn. It's got to be able to be used for something. And adaptive reuse is an actual thing in historic preservation. So it's more a matter of, can it be something that's currently useful and also still maintain the integrity of, its historic architecture and all that. And that's certainly possible. So, but we're not going to have any say in what they do unless they decide they want to get it designated.
And I don't think they can get any grants unless it is designated.
Yeah, and definitely not historic preservation grants. They might be able to get other things, but yeah.
That's
So
Well,
it's like that,
from what-
and we
sorry.
need to have a conversation.
I was just
Right.
going to say, as far as the barn preservation grants that are available, I I think that barn preservation grants, I don't think you have to be you don't have to be registered as a historic building, because my parents' barn is not. And I haven't been told at any level that I have to be designated first before I can even apply. You just have to be of a certain age, they'll assess the type of barn or whatever, if it's worth saving. So I think maybe for barns is different, but I'm not sure about that, of course.
Is that
Yeah,
a barn in this?
Yeah, it's a barn in Roy.
Yeah. Yeah, there've been some special programs, particularly for barns too. So yeah.
Did you ever
Did I ever what?
get a grant for the barn?
No, that's why I was laughing before, because I learned the hard way that I just happened to miss, I just found out about it. So when I inquired, the fellow told me in Olympia that, oh darn, well, you just missed the deadline. And unfortunately, it's like 2-year cycle. So I have to apply I have to apply to be on the list, I think, in February. Thank you for reminding me. And then I have to apply for the grant the next time around or something like that. So I don't think it's a designation like from this board, but you do have to get on a list of some sort. I don't remember what he called it, but I can find out because I have his message.
Yeah, and
From what
I'm
I've heard from previous barn grants, some of them took 10 years or more. You go on a list, and at some point in time, you may be selected. I don't remember personally the criteria whether it has to be designated. However, without designation, there's no preservation. So it's not an easy process.
No, and
Yeah.
I can imagine that it would get in the way of keeping things moving along for them. So I'm not sure they're going to go down that road.
I don't even know that the city will be ready to ask for the barn for that. But number one, I agree with you all of you that looking into that barn program, the expectations that were in Todd Krause's presentations might be a little optimistic for the dollar amount that will be coming from the state. Secondly, I don't think we'll be asking for it in this biennium, the next biennium, which Ms. Minetti's talking to, that the budget for the state, the big budget for the state will be next year, right? In the odd year. And we won't have anything prepared for that then. I think it'll be at the next biennium after that. So there is time, and I will let the council know that I think you guys need to be engaged with the parks people on this, because this is the time to sit down and express your concerns about the preservation.
Well, that little pamphlet on historic preservation that Courtney gave us had a lot of that information. At least that ought to be prepared as a starter for any joint meetings. It's not necessarily low-hanging fruit, this particular one.
Oh, it sure isn't.
Well, but we've already got like a joint meeting scheduled with them, so prime the pump maybe.
When's the joint meeting?
It has not yet been scheduled, Chair, but it will
Scheduled yet, but
Okay,
soon.
sometime first quarter.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, see, I was listening.
Okay. Where do we go next?
So
Did we
to
start?
summarize what I heard regarding the work plan and specific priorities. Specific priorities is to continue the work on updating the touring map to potentially also include parks. working on the assisting parks with their policies pertaining to renaming local facility. And also it sounds like exploring the use of this community landmark designation for the H barn and becoming more engaged in that project. So working closer with PRAB and several of their ongoing projects. It sounds like that joint meeting can't happen soon enough, so we can discuss these several items. And I will definitely follow up with that team this week or early next week. For all of those items, the touring map will carry an expense. When I had done the work earlier, I was budgeting about $3,100 between the cost of the update and the cost of printing. I'm also very interested in finding out if we can make a virtual component where it be an online use as well as a physical paper copy, since so much of what people access now is online. I haven't heard back from the group that I had originally contacted, but I will contact others to see how we could get that converted to become something more interactive. So that does have a cost associated with it. At our last meeting, there was a lot of this interest, and I know something that this board has always been interested in and council has always been excited to see is when we do engage with the youth. So that's not something that we talked about tonight, but I say we potentially table that for a future conversation after we report back on some of these parks efforts, how we might be able to use some of those remaining dollars towards youth engagement.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if we're going to go an online component, it ought to be accessible to like iPhones and smartphones and all of that, because you don't necessarily need to even take your computer with you when you go on a tour.
Great. So I will report back on our next meeting or prior to, if there's a chance of a joint meeting being scheduled for February.
Okay. Where did we stop? We're still on the touring map, right?
No, our next item would be election of chair and vice chair, unless there's more conversation for the work plan.
Well, we got an item, work with pretty gritty tours for a walking program, and I don't think that's going to be happening for probably this year. But I'll leave it to the rest of you to decide what to do on that one. I don't think that's a very high priority item, at least for right now.
No, I don't think that's a high priority item at all, because considering the layout of Lakewood, a walking tour, it wouldn't get you very far. So I'm not really sure about the feasibility of something like that, unless it was just like, okay, you go to the House of Donuts and you go to the old, Villa Plaza shopping center and I don't know, Colonial Center, and that's it. But, people don't want to be walking for miles around Lakewood. So I'd be interested to see like what somebody could put together that would actually be doable.
Well, we'd have to do it in zones.
Sure. But essentially what you'd need is a tour bus for something like that, if you went very far.
Yeah, no, unfortunately, that's the way
We
it
don't
is
want to
here.
go very far. But yeah, you have to kind of do it in zones with a good place to stop. So well,
Yeah,
we'll
I
think on it a
suppose.
little bit and see,
Mhm.
like how far it's good to walk. Because I have ideas that a good one would be one that ended at the Ram with a little brewery tour and perhaps a tasting curl.
Yeah, I suppose. Yes, maybe
Beth,
we can
why
call
don't
them mini
take-
tours.
Yeah, Beth, why don't you take a stab at some focused tours within Lakewood where you can get to 4 or 5 historical areas all in
Yeah,
one
it's kind of
walking area.
Yeah, a short little walk that ends up someplace good. Donut
Yeah.
house. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can do that. I can get the map out and see, kind of like Jones Park idea too. It's like, where are the historic things in the parks and all that.
Yeah, most of them are right there at the Fort Steilacoom area. Leschi, Fort Steilacoom.
Yeah, there's a lot
Keith-
concentrated around there.
Pioneer Cemetery, the hospital cemetery, the hospital. But anyway, you can carry on with that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's not low hanging fruit. So
Okay, moving on to chair and vice chair elections. You have a write-up in your package. I don't think I'll go through and read all of it, but I think the main thing we know we need to do is elect chair and vice chair. So I think I can move to opening the floor for nominations. Floor is open for nominations.
I'm sorry, I don't know how this works, but I wasn't around for the last one. So the current chair and vice chair, they're not allowed to continue, or we can't nominate them again? Or what's
no,
this?
we can.
Uh-huh.
We can. It's a matter of do they want to keep doing it?
Exactly, that was my next question.
Yeah. So any nominations?
Well, I suppose I could nominate Glenn. He seems to be quite well, well settled in the position, and I'm afraid that, for example, I wouldn't be very suited yet to do anything like this. So I'll go with the established leadership. I nominate Glenn.
Okay. Any other nominations? That's for chair. Seeing no other nominations, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. Vice chair. Any nominations for vice chair?
I think I am, this is Joan, I think I am currently vice chair, and it would probably be in my best interest. I'm trying not to resign from the board. I know how important it is to keep as many members as we have. But with my decreasing vision, I do have some significant issues. It would make it a bit easier on me if there would be someone else that could step in. Glenn is so faithful and wonderful and never misses a meeting that it doesn't take much to be vice chair, I'll tell you that. But I would appreciate it if I might step back from that.
Okay, is there any else who would be interested?
It's not difficult to do, that is for sure. And with our wonderful staff of Courtney and Karen, they make it easy.
Yeah, I agree. Any nominations?
Christina, would you be interested in giving vice chair a try, just as like a learning experience?
Have you been vice chair before?
I have.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So you would
We
recommend
like
it?
traded around, and so
Okay.
it's kind of
Yeah.
a neat way to kind of learn some stuff.
Well, sure. Okay. Well, if you think you think I could handle it, then I could give it a
you
spin
totally-
since everybody else had it already.
Yeah.
Christina,
It's basically
would
what
be
you do is if Glenn is going to be late, you get to work the gavel.
Okay. The virtual gavel. Okay. Well,
So,
as long as you guys keep me posted on things, I can give it a shot.
all
You'll
right.
be fine.
Yeah.
Thank
So,
you.
so,
Joan.
so I nominate
other
Christina Minetti to be vice chair.
I second.
Okay, any other nominations? Hearing none. Shall we have a vote on the vice chair position? All those in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Guess
I
what?
didn't say I. I wasn't supposed to say I, was I for myself?
Yeah,
You
say aye.
can, but there's
It's
enough
your
of us, we can elect you.
Okay, I'll just be quiet then.
Christina, this is Joan again. I want you to know that, and I don't know how many thousands of years it feels I've been on this board, but my very first year on the board, they made me chair. So,
Oh gosh, and you survived. So,
and I survived and I hung in there. So,
and it built your character.
it does. It does
Okay.
indeed. It does indeed.
Okay, well, you'll have to show me the ropes then.
Yeah, you'll do fine.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the time capsule. And we need to do this by when?
As soon as possible. There hasn't been an official deadline set, I don't believe.
That's a tiny time capsule.
Yeah, it's not very big either.
No.
Yeah. Glenn, do you have a picture of you as the theater ghost from your
Yeah.
appearance?
Yeah,
That might be a fun thing to put in there.
okay.
And maybe a list of the half dozen favorite donuts from the House of Donuts.
Probably it would be
Yeah,
worth
or-
putting a donut itself in there.
Yeah, we probably could. There's enough sugar in there, it'd probably still be good.
Well, it might wreck some of the papers around it. But, probably some news, Prairie Gazette issues might be good. That's the Historical Society's quarterly. You could put a year's worth. Four don't take much space. I'll see if I put those together.
Glenn, we could put in the DVD that we made.
Yeah. Do we have extra copies? That I don't know that I even have a copy.
I have one somewhere.
Chair, you do have extra copies of the DVD.
Okay, cool.
Any other ideas? I think the Prairie Gazette had some stuff about the 25th anniversary. Connections magazine. Courtney, you might be able to get some of those for us.
We're going to fill
Map.
up the
Park
box.
in Lakewood. We could put our touring map in there.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, definitely a touring map.
Yeah, and it says map of different parks in Lakewood, and that would be on the city map. I don't know what the latest version is, but that comes from the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah, but the touring map is our thing. So should put that in.
True, that it's not limited to one or the other. It's both.
Yeah. It's fairly small. It's foldable.
Yeah.
So, Chair, would you like for this to come back in your February meeting, or would you like for staff to move forward with including a copy of the touring map, a DVD, and some copies of the Prairie Gazette? Other ideas?
I didn't get all It kind of echoed through the area here. I got you on speakerphone.
Touring map, DVD, and then copies of the Prairie Gazette were the ones
Yeah.
that were repeated. We can also bring this back for.
I don't think we should probably wait until February though, because the 20th anniversary has already come and gone, and they probably would like to get the show on the road with this. So maybe we could just tell them what they should
Collect stuff and
include.
get it. Okay, I'll work on what I can provide. DVD, and we're not going to have our latest touring map other than, what is it, the 2015 is the latest published one.
Yes. And we have
And then it
at
would
city,
have the city map.
so the city
Okay, I
provides
chamber.
the DVD and of the touring map. And then Glenn, if you want to bring by some copies of the Prairie Gazette, those can be a
Okay,
contribution. It's what I'm hearing.
yeah. So we'll be ready with whenever they decide to do it and put the stuff in. Correct?
Yes, I am not sure what the ceremony will involve. I do know that they've been collecting items and the items are currently inside of the capsule. So I think whenever we have them, I'll provide them to that park staff and we can go ahead and add them to the time capsule. Perhaps Karen or Councilmember Boki has additional information on what they plan to do with the capsule or when, but I'm not aware of when they plan to plant the capsule, if you will.
Yeah, I don't know either.
And I think I read that this is going to be a wooden box. Is that correct?
Yes. it is
Not
a-
a box with soldered edges. Well, we can collect all that stuff that we have on our list right now, and if we come up with others, if there's room, we can add something else possibly.
Sounds good.
Okay. Item 8, next meeting scheduled for February 24th. American Lake Conference Room and Zoom access, maybe. Either one.
Yeah, I'll probably have to be on Zoom because we're right in the middle of crazy stuff at work and I'm working 12 hours, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Sunday through Monday.
Well, I'm glad somebody's working.
Yeah.
I'm retired and I feel like I'm still working.
Yeah, it's because you are. You're just unpaid.
Yeah. Okay, any other items for discussion or comments or whatever?
I have nothing.
Hearing none. Okay, anybody else? Okay, hearing none, shall we vote to adjourn? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Aye. Okay, we're done.
Thank you, Glenn.
Good night,
You bet.
everybody.
Thank you, everybody.